combination of positive number and the negative number. आप भी करके देखो, मैं भी करके देखती हूँ. I haven't tried this, but we can see that what we can get. And I hope it doesn't give me any error. Okay, so we have B2 और मैं बड़ा सिंपल सा रखूंगी ताकि आंसर थोड़ा सा इजी आ जाए. So we have B, oh, एक मिनट. So we have B2, 1. Okay, wait, B2 नहीं रखते, इसको थोड़ा बीच में रखते हैं. So I write C2, 1. Okay, and then -1. So we have C2, that is 22. तो ऊपर भी जगह है 1 की और नीचे तो जगह है ही है. And let's see what we get. So we got the answer that way also. So we're getting 13. What it is giving me? See, C2 is 22. So it will go one row down, or down say it will not go towards the right. It will actually go one towards the left side of the column and give me 13 as the answer. So I didn't try that, but luckily I got the answer this time. Normally there are so many errors that we happen to have, especially when we are doing it for the very first time. एक और बार करके देखते हैं just for the clarity. So we have offset, we have bracket, and this time let me give D3, comma, D3, comma, and I say 3, and oh, let me give minus for row this time. So -1 and 2. I have D3 and 1 and 2. So in your exam, it could be asked, like you would be given a table and the function will be given like that. And you would be asked that find out the value which will be returned by the offset function in this case, right? So one is that you may be asked to find a particular number and give a format of that rule, the formula for that, or you may be asked to give a a function will be given to you and you'll be asked to determine the output that will come from that particular formula. So we have D3, -1 and 2, and we get 0 as the answer, because indeed if you see from -1, so D3 is 33, and go okay. So if I have given positive number, indeed there are no two columns by which it can go, so that is what has given me 0 as the answer. But if I give 1 over here, let me just do that, and now it will give me 42 as the answer, which is this particular value, right? So let me just repeat that we have done 5 combinations of the input values. So first combination was the normal number that you mentioned in the row and the column, right? And then we have also given the 0-0 combination. If you're not giving any row and column, it will not move anywhere, but give you the value of the reference cell that you've mentioned in the offset function. The third combination that we did was when we are having 0-1 or 1-0, then we will see that if the row is mentioned as 0, then it will not move in the row side, but rather it will go by the column on the right side. Since it is a positive number, it is going to go on the right side. And if I mention this as a negative number, then this is going to go on the opposite direction. Accordingly, if I mention 1,0 or 2,0 or 0,2, it will, whatever number is mentioned as 0, it will not move in that particular argument. So if the row is mentioned as 0, row will remain same. If the column is mentioned as 0, the column will tend to remain same. Then we also, the negative number, we can also give the combination of the negative number where it will actually not go down or not go on the right side, but this will go up or on the left side of the column, right? And we can also use the combination of the positive and the negative number. I just gave 1 and -1. एक और बार कर लेते हैं. So we have offset, so that we have done 2-3 examples. So let me do one more for this. So if I have simple सा करते हैं, C1. So we have this, comma, 2, comma, -2. And I close the bracket, and let's see what I get. So I got 3 over here. Now how we have got 3? So starting from C1, go down by 2 rows. That is a positive side. So negative होता तो आंसर आपका 0 आता, क्योंकि इसके ऊपर कोई आपकी रो है ही नहीं. So if I start from C1 and if I've given 2 over here, it will go down by 2 points. From these 2 points, it will turn left by 2 points and give me 3 as the answer. All right. So this is the case of the combinations that we have done so far. Next is the combination of, when we are using the optional arguments in the offset function. And the optional arguments are basically used certainly when you have so like when you have to work with the range. See, I'll tell you why they have been termed as optional. See, reason being, when you're trying to go with the height and the width, there has to be a logic in that, because when you're trying to refer to a particular array, see, earlier we were getting only one value, but when we want to fetch maybe multiple values and we want to do processing with that, then in that case it becomes logical to define the height and the width. But for the individual value, there is actually no logic of giving height and width, because when we are referring to one, we don't need to mention the height and the width. That is the reason it says that these two last arguments are the optional arguments that we may use in certain scenarios. Certainly, when we're using some functions like sum, count, or average, max, and min. I'll tell you, normally the functions which are used with height and width. So we must have heard about aggregate functions, and aggregate, or they're also called as summary functions, which are I'll just tell you. These could be your sum, your average, max, min, count, and count A. Right? And the aggregate functions, if you remember, I did tell you that it will actually work from 2010 onwards. And if you are using this function, it will have added advantage of ignoring the errors or the blanks that might be there in the array that you have defined. But if we use a sum and a function in the older versions, if there is any error in the range that you have defined, then the sum function will also give you the error. But aggregate function, if you're using sum, count, or max, min, average under the category of the aggregate function, then in that case, it will not give me any error. And I'm sure you can use that in your computers since you're having the latest versions. So let me work with the height and width option, and then I'll come to that. So optional arguments are in certain cases where I want to find out the sum of a certain range. In that case, I will have to mention the height and width of that range. If I do not mention the height and width, automatically it will give me the value which is being written in that one cell. Let me just do it, then it'll be more clear. So I say offset bracket. I start with very simple options. So I say, let me give with A1 only to start with. And I have to mention the height and width also, and the rows and columns also. So let me start with the 1, 1 and 1, 1. Let me give and let's see what happens. So we have A1. It is not going to go further because let's see what happens, and let me not comment on that right now. So offset bracket A1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and I have this as the answer, which is nothing but 12. So I repeat what I have got from A1. It has gone down by one row, and it has turned right by one column and given me 12 as the answer. Now we are getting only one answer because in this particular case we have mentioned the matrix as one by one, and that indicates only one value. But if I mention, let me just try another thing, and then it will be more clear what we are getting. So offset, I start with the A1 only, and I mention say 1, 1, then 2 by 2. If I repeat what I've done, I hope it will give me the error. I think so. So offset bracket A1, 1, 1, 2, 2. And hey, it has given me the error. Reason being, can anybody tell? We haven't used any aggregate function along with this offset, because offset, please remember, will give you individual value without the optional arguments as height and width. But in this case, the moment we give the optional arguments like height and width, it will actually expect another function that we have to use with the offset function. क्योंकि आपका ऑफसेट फंक्शन सिर्फ एक वैल्यू देगा, एंड व्हेन इट इज गिविंग यू वन वैल्यू, देयर इज इंडीड नो नीड फॉर मेंशनिंग हाइट एंड विड्थ. And even if, as you know, in earlier cases when I was mentioning 1 comma 1, even when the offset function is used without any function, it gave me the answer, because 1 by 1 actually means one cell only, which is equal to one value. But the moment I try to go beyond 1 by 1, I've given 2 by 2, it is actually expecting me to have some function which I have to use for processing of that array, which is defined by 2 comma 2. So let me go back to my function and let me correct that, and let me use a very simple aggregate function, which is sum function. And I will use sum function, start the bracket, and I also have the ending bracket. Okay, let me just do that, then I'll give you further. Okay, let me not give the end bracket. And I have done that deliberately for a reason. So I say equal to sum bracket offset bracket a1 comma 1 comma 1, which is the value which I know already what the value is. And then the height and width actually defines the array which I want to use for the sum. Now let me just press enter and let me see what I get. And I say yes to that, and I have got the value as 17. Deliberately I didn't give the last bracket, reason being I wanted to tell you the error which can come, because in certain cases, you know, the excel will automatically, you know, when you, since I pressed yes to that, it has automatically put the bracket at the end and given me the answer as 70. Now we need to find out how we are getting this 70 from this array, right? We'll do that. Next is this step. So I'll do in the same screen so that you can see the answer that we're getting. Now let me interpret what we are getting. So we gave sum offset A1, which is this, going one row down and one column on the right. It gave me 12 as the answer. Starting from this point, it has now mentioned that select the array of 2 by 2. So it has selected this array of 12, 22, 13, and 23 and given me some of that, I believe. Now let's check whether the sum that we are getting here as 70 is indeed that answer or not. So we say 12 plus 22 plus 13 plus 23. Let's see what we get. So we got 70. So this is nothing but the sum of the array defined by height and width given in the offset function. So I repeat one more time, height and width are the optional arguments. Preferably when we are giving more than one height and more than one width, we normally use another function with the offset. But if I mention 1 comma 1, then it will not give me any error, because 1 comma 1 indeed means just one value or 1 by 1 matrix. And that is the reason when I wrote this over here, it didn't give me any error. It actually got 12 as the answer. But when I mentioned the same thing over here, it gave me the error without some function. But when I wrote some function over there, and when I changed the height and width to 2 by 2, it gave me the sum of, let me just highlight that and then it'll be more clear. It has given me the sum of these four numbers, which I'll highlight with some other number. Now let me do that one more time. Not one more time, I'll do it multiple times for better clarity.